Welcome to the start of, shall we say, another academic year at Varnfried University. So this is basically your night classes. They're free to attend. There are no visuals because there is a certain amount of homework that you will be required to do. Not required because in the formal structure sense, but required in the sense of it will benefit you to actually look these things up yourself and go with what feels right to you. This is all basically art, so therefore it is all subjective. I'm just giving you an explanation of things that I see based on personal experiences as much as anything else. So the intent of this is twofold and involves both channels, that being Dr. Juan Forfa, Varnfried University channel, and Bruckner 200 WAB-ART Productions channel, which is the arts faculty of Varnfried University. So depending on how long this takes to talk about, you may find this follows what is called sonata form, the A-B-A principle. So you'd have your first subject, your second subject, and then the resolution. So we're going to start by talking about Anton Bruckner and his symphonies. And the second subject will be the Vedic Chakra System, the 7 energy centers of the body in relation to music. And then there be the resolution when we combine the two, when we cross-compare the two. And I would say 100% certain that this has never been discussed in quite these terms before. The two subjects separately have been discussed many times, but in this combination I feel this is probably unique. And this is as it comes. I am sitting in the darkness, I have my eyes closed, so it's off the top of my head. So it starts with the Bruckner Symphonies. Now if you look in the playlist, and it's number 3, orchestral works, and you'll see in the description there is a list of the 11 Bruckner Symphonies. You will see that they have both numbers and nicknames or names. Most of these are either what Bruckner referred to the symphonies as, or what subsequent commentary has given to a specific symphony, or in the case of Symphony number 7, it is a nickname that I have applied for the sake of completeness. So if we look at these symphonies chronologically, the story starts in 1863. This is with a symphony that is known as 00. It is in the key of F minor. You can think of that symphony as the embryonic form of life, shall we say. This is followed in 1865 to 1866 with Symphony number 1 in C minor. Bruckner referred to this as his Das Kecker Besehl, which doesn't exactly translate from German into English, but it sort of implies sort of cheeky imp. So we can look at that from a perspective of a young child, cheeky, impish, but cute, not mischievous in a negative sense, quite jovial. and full of enthusiasm, just the way the opening of Symphony Number 1 is. It's very energetic. It's Bruckner entering the symphonic arena as a composer in his own right. This is followed by what is known as Symphony 0 in D minor, known as the Nullified Symphony or D Nulta, written in 1869. This one, you could sort of see it as formative years in life, shall we say. This is then followed by Symphony Number 2 in C minor, written around 1872. This is all off the top of my head, so if I get the year slightly out, please bear in mind that this is all just free-flowing as it comes. That has gained the nickname the Pausen Symphony because it has a lot of pauses in its original version as written. This also applies to the first versions of Symphony Number 3 and Symphony Number 4. So Symphony Number 3 is in D minor, written in 1873/1874 in its original form. That is known as the Wagner Symphony because of its dedication. This is then followed in 1874 by Symphony Number 4 in E-flat major, which Bruckner gave the official title Romantic. It does have a program, is what it would be called program music. Another example would be Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, the Pastoral, which has little descriptive notes for each movement, as well as suggested tempos and things, where you see allegro, adagio, etc. So after Symphony Number 4 comes Symphony Number 5, which Bruckner referred to as his Fantastic Symphony. This is in the key of B-flat major. This is then followed by Symphony Number 6 in A major, which has had several nicknames applied to it. The one I like personally is the Philosopher. This is followed by Symphony Number 7 in 1883. Symphony Number 6, incidentally, was written, I think it was 1879 to 1881. Yes, then Symphony Number 7 follows. That's in A major. That was originally written in 1883. Now this one I have applied the nickname the Cockerel, or Der Hahn to give it its German equivalent. The reason I have applied this name is the opening of the third movement, the theme da 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 da, which sounds reminiscent of a cockerel, and it's very much tied in with the end of the second movement of that symphony, which is a sort of homage on the news of Wagner's death in Venice in 1883. So it's like a closing of a chapter. Bruckner has lost someone that he looks up to, that he referred to as the master. After Symphony Number 7, in 1887 you have Symphony Number 8 in C minor, which has at one time or another has had the nickname the Apocalyptic applied to it. And finally, commencing in 1890. I'm just trying to think now. Really, I suppose about 1889. Bruckner's probably got early ideas of his Symphony Number 9 in D minor, which he called his Farewell to Life. But it goes beyond that with the now realized finale, and that is in D minor. So we just look at the pattern here with these 11 symphonies. So we've gone from F minor to C minor with Symphony Number 1, to D minor with Symphony 0, back to C minor with Symphony 2, back to D minor with Symphony 3. Now we change to the major keys. Symphony 4 in E flat major, Symphony 5 in B flat major, Symphony 6 in A major, Symphony Number 7 in E major, and then we revert back to the minor keys, Symphony Number 8 in C minor, and Symphony Number 9 in D minor. Now you have 7 notes and keys in music: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now this is where we come on to the second part. We're going to talk about the chakra system. If you don't know what that is, I will put a link to Lavette's channel where she shows where these chakras are and their colours. But we'll run through these and give you the very briefest of overview, but I would highly recommend that you type in Chakra System and just go with whatever video. Scroll down because there are many to choose from. Many will give you interpretations and explain where they are and what they refer to, what parts of the body they are. Incidentally, if you've ever taken part in a group meditation ceremony with activation of chakras, you may have experienced, and this is from my own personal experience of this, with the opening of each chakra, you will feel like a tingling sensation, which basically you'll know where these energy centers are in the human body, because they don't actually have a physical form, but you can feel the sensations. When you're in a sort of group, the energies are that much more enhanced, so it becomes a lot easier. So if we start with the root, this is the base of the spine, the root chakra. The associated color is red, and we're going to apply the key of G to that one. Next you have the sacral chakra. This is basically the pleasure, what is known as the pleasure chakra of the lower physical body. The lower body, or the lower mind, the more animalistic side of us. That is orange in colour. And we're going to apply the music key of F to this one. This is followed by the solar plexus. This is associated with the sun with the colour yellow. It is also the lunar plexus. So it's the sun and the moon. This is roughly just below your belly button. It's what would be described as your gut feeling about things. So we're going to apply the musical key of E to this one. Now the middle letter, the middle music key, is also the middle chakra. It is associated with the colour green. It is the heart chakra. The saying about we need to get to the heart of the matter, being in balance, well, D is right in the middle between G and A. It is right in the middle in the chakra system. Green is like the neutral, natural colour. Next we come on to the key of C. This is the throat chakra. This is to do with communication. This is associated with the colour of light blue. Next we have what is known as the mind's eye, which would be the equivalent of, if you've seen a depiction of a cyclops with the eye right in the middle of the forehead. It's a metaphorical eye. It's the mind's eye, it's what you see in your mind. It is associated with the colour purple. We're going to apply the music key B to this one. And finally, which would be coloured white, would be your crown chakra, which sits just above the head, which we will apply the musical key of A. Now you have major and minor keys in music. So for the purpose of this, we are going to say the minor keys, which are often the darker, deeper, the more soul-searching music is in a minor key. We'll apply this to the lower conscious, the lower I, the self that is in the material world, the self that operates in the external world. And so therefore the major key, which are normally the brighter, the more positive, the more uplifting in music, we will associate for the purpose of this with our higher self. So you've got your upper and your lower self expressed as minor and major in music keys. You also have the sharps and the flats to consider. Within each of us we have a outgoing, expressive, divine masculine aspect. We also have the artistic, creative homemaker, the divine feminine aspect, regardless of whether you are in a male or female body. The outplay of this is in the physical reality, but where this comes from, where this is all felt, because this is all in feeling, is within oneself. It is not with a physical form. It is just something you experience. So basically we're running from A, music key A, which is the crown at the top of the head, to the base of the spine, which is the key of G. So now, when we apply the Bruckner's Symphonies, we start with the embryonic phase, which would be Symphony 00, the study symphony, which is in the key of F minor. F is associated with the reproductive organs, so this is why I say it is the embryonic phase. It is the Symphony 00 is very Schubertian. It's Bruckner sort of learning to find his own unique, distinct voice and way of expression. So this is just his learning phase. It's his pre-formative symphony. Now we move to Symphony number 1. Now this is in the key of C minor. So this one is to do with communication. This is to do with the formative years in the sense of composition and in the sense of life. So C is the throat chakra. So it's to do with communication. We're in C minor, so it's to do with the expressing into the external world. This is followed by Symphony 0, which you could say the O is also representing the organic. This is to do with our formative years. This is in the key of D minor. This is heart-centered. But Bruckner, for whatever reasons, discarded this symphony. This is why it is known as the nullified symphony. But it is worth hearing, if nothing else, to hear the chronological development of a composer or an artist, because we're using Bruckner as just a tiny fraction to express a life that's atypical of artists, that expresses art itself and what we can gain and learn from art. Which I would suggest here is, as man, collectively, generically speaking, as mankind has disconnected from nature with the increase in the intellect, that it is only really through art that is trying to maintain that connection with nature itself. There is an art in everything. There is an art in communication. There is an art, there is expression. You can also see reflected, if you look at the development of housing, how in rural farming world where you keep animals, they were actually kept in the same building, and progressively humans would sleep on an upper floor, and your grazing animals such as your sheep and your cows, you would bring them in for the winter. But we've lost that connection. With each successive step, we have become more civilized and we have moved away from nature. Anyway, that was a slight tangent we went off there. So yes, Symphony number 3, the Wagner Symphony. We're back in the... No, sorry, where did we get to? We did Symphony 0, the organic. I've jumped one, sorry, I apologise. Symphony number 2, we are back in C minor again. So we've moved back to the throat. This is about expression. This is Bruckner now starting to come into his own. This is the one that's known as the Pausen Symphony, because it has these pauses, because he is coming from a perspective, or a perspective I should say, as an organist, where you would have the use of stops and changing to a different terrace of keyboards. There are basically 3 or 4 keyboards like a piano, but they're called terraces, and there's more than one. And you've also got all the stops to change the sounds in the pipes themselves. I'm not an organist, so excuse my crude, very brief explanation. So he's writing using the medium of the symphony orchestra, but from a perspective as an organist who could improvise. This is something that is important to consider with Bruckner, with why the symphonies do have these breaks, or would seem to be abrupt halts, and in there may sound a bit perplexing, but as Bruckner pointed out, even Beethoven's Fifth has pauses in it, that famous da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, for example. It's not the only symphony that does this, and not the only composer that does this as well. So Symphony number 3 in D minor, so we're back to the heart, the Wagner Symphony. Through Bruckner's introduction to Wagner, had introduced a brand new way of harmonizing, a brand new way of being very daring and pushing music in new directions, probably most famously with things like the Tristan chord. There's a playlist all about that if you want to look up what that is. It's a very questioning, very open-ended chord that It's very mysterious, it's very curious. It's got a feeling all of its own. If you hear it, I think you'll understand what I mean by that. You'll just feel it, shall we say. Because that is the secret known only to one. It's what you feel from the experience. So after Symphony number 3, we come to Symphony number 4. Now we've shifted into what is known as the tetralogy period of Bruckner. We've shifted to the major keys. So Symphony number 4 is known as the Romantic. This is followed by Symphony number 5 in B-flat major, the Fantastic. Number 6 in A, the Philosopher, and number 7, the Cockerel, which is in E. So this is this major key period. And incidentally, it is Symphony number 7 that finally puts Bruckner on the map as a composer that is recognized. He's finally got public recognition with his Symphony number 7. He received acclaim with Symphony number 4, the Romantic, as well, after its first performance. So you've got this 4 to 7. This is also very interesting in terminology of the chakra system as well. If you think about where you would put the split, the 3 and the 4, the lower chakras, the upper chakras, where do you class the heart? Where do you class D? Do you take it as being the middle path, or do you class it with the lower or with the upper? So you've got that split of 3 and 4 of the 7, which is sort of reflected in the recognition in Symphony number 7 and then Symphony number 4. Rather bizarrely, between Symphony 4 and Symphony number 7 is Symphony number 5, which I understand Bruckner never heard played in his lifetime, or at least not in an orchestral form. And Symphony number 6, I believe Bruckner only ever heard the middle 2 movements being performed by an orchestra. I could have remembered that slightly wrong, but this is just as it comes. So this major key period, we've gone from E-flat major, so we're now back down in the solar plexus, the gut feeling, the God feeling. This is your Christ consciousness, the place of the sun, the place of the moon. It has a masculine and a feminine aspect to it. In terms of the chakra system, you have what is known as the Kundalini rising, or the Christ consciousness, the rising of the chrism oil up the spine. This is the energetic metaphorical that we're discussing here. So we go from E-flat major, so we're now in the place of the sun, place of the gut, in a major, so we're now in the higher form. From there, we ascend to the mind's eye, to the fantastic. This is the key of B-flat major. From there, we go right to the top with the Philosopher, the key of A major associated with the crown chakra. Now we come back down into the place of the sun, the key of E major, the higher self, back in the place of the rising sun. So I feel that you can get from this what is being expressed in the Bible, which is all a parable, what is being expressed through the artist. The art spirit is channeling through an artist. In this particular case, it's Anton Bruckner, through the medium of the symphony. He's an organist that can improvise. A lot of these themes for these symphonies actually began on the organ. I feel Bruckner realized that the organ is not exactly an easily portable instrument, but by using the medium of the symphony orchestra, his message to humanity would reach a far wider audience using symphony orchestras. So after this major key period, we've gone back to the place of the sun. Now you have the apocalypse. This is in C minor, so the communication. You could say this is the death of the lower self, the death of the ego. It's not an actual death, it's a surrender of the lower animalistic mind that takes us into addictions, that takes us looking externally, taking the fruit from the tree of knowledge, the tree of contrast, always looking outside of oneself for the answers. So that is the apocalypse. That is the walls of Jericho fall down with this symphony number 8. Now we're back in C minor, which is the throat chakra, which is communication. But at the end of it all, we go to the farewell of life with symphony number 9 in D minor. So it's the lower conscious. We're back in the heart. But now we have this realization of the finale of Symphony number 9. And a special shout out to Dr. John A. Phillips for his dedication, unstinted work, and his collaboration with, I'm just trying to remember the names now. You've got, it's Cause, oh, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the names. But the initials SPCM. Oh, so M is Mazuka. The three of them are actual composers in their own right, and you also have, I think, a musicologist. Again, I apologise. This is all off the top of my head, but let's go back over these symphonies again. But looking at it now from the applied names and nicknames. So you've come in from this embryonic stage with Symphony 00. You've come into life as this cheeky young child, all excited and wanting to get out into the world. You've had to go through the education and become this whole, this organic, that's nullified, that is now sort of programmed into this system mentality of competing with each other, looking out of oneself, not being able to find the self, the true self within. But then you have this pause with Symphony number 2. You sort of have this self-reflection. You have this inspiration that comes from art. In Bruckner's case, he's already got the blueprint and the model for the symphony from Beethoven, the structure of the symphony. He's got the background and the thorough knowledge of music that stretches back to Palestrina. And also Bruckner is looking very much to the future, giving humanity this message. So you have this Wagner symphony that then leads on to this romantic expression, which in turn leads to this fantastic. And from those experiences, you become very philosophical. But then after the death of Wagner, it's the cockerel, it's the start of a new day, which then sets you on a path towards this apocalyptic moment where your world will come crashing down because you are going through spiritual growth, you are going through an enlightenment that leads you to this farewell to life where you have fulfilled a lifetime of experiences that you can now take the experiences, you're sort of uploading everything to your higher self, and taking it beyond with this grand finale in Symphony number 9. And I feel this is what is being expressed. This is what I feel we can learn so much from through these symphonies. You don't have to like the music. This is just purely an interpretation. This is just purely giving you a perspective. Now, it's debatable what feelings. It will be down to each of us individually. If you hear a piece of music in a major key or a minor key, if you know that they are in major or minor keys, how do they feel to you? If you know a piece of music is in E flat major, for example, how does that feel? How does that compare? How do you feel if you hear a music that's in the key of C minor? What about C sharp minor, for example? There are many keys to choose from. Major and minor, sharps and flats are all involved. Then there are the actual notes themselves, the relationships of the notes, the chords. How do they feel to you? There was a system devised by Johann Mattheson, a German composer and musicologist, in 1713, and he suggested his interpretation on what these keys will give you particular feelings for, but I feel it is down to each of us individually. For me personally, D minor and E flat major and C minor in particular, they really do hit home, shall we say. But this is all rather involved. You may have to make notes on this, you may have to go over things again, but feel free to leave comments if you've got any questions about this. I will link to Lavette channel with an explanation so you can see the chakras, and in relation to their astrological association, because effectively we also have the symphony of the stars that come into this. Music, keys, frequencies, colours, tones, they're all vibrations, they're all expressions in individualized forms of the same thing, just as we are all individualized forms of I am. Thank you very much.